One thing that drives me absolutely crazy is the lack of accountability for civic duty that the vast majority of Americans have. And what I mean is that the vast majority of Americans are either afraid to speak out against the injustices that are taking place within our country and are perpetrated by our country outside of the United States, or they are refusing to speak up for some other reason. And I think it's worth pulling up a quote from Osama bin Laden in his letter addressed to the American public after the September 11th attacks. And he explained why he chose to attack civilians. And what he basically said was that Americans claim to live in the most democratic country in the world. Americans claim that our government listens to us and does what we want them to. And so by that logic, Americans are responsible for the atrocities that the United States commits across the globe and within our own country. Not to mention, we are the ones who pay taxes that fund these attacks and fund these military interventions and military coups. And he's right. I think if we look at a quote from Dr. King, he said that if you are complicit or you are silent about the things that matter, then you are a part of the problem, right? Dr. King actually said that the white moderate was worse than the KKK because the white moderate understood that what was happening to African Americans was terrible and bad, but they chose not to stand up for them because it was inconvenient for them. And I'm not going to lie, it takes courage to stand up for what's right, and it takes courage to put your voice out there and put your opinion out there. And to be honest, I am a little scared of, what people will think about me for putting my voice out there, but I decided that enough is enough, and people who realize and recognize these injustices that are taking place need to start saying something. And when you look at what's happening with Julian Assange, he's been in prison for the last 11 years for releasing the truth, for releasing the war crimes and atrocities that the United States and the United Kingdom perpetrated across the globe. He's been in prison for releasing the truth to the public. And if the United States and the UK have their way, he'll be in prison for the rest of his life. And so it does take courage, and it is hard to stand up for what is right. But if we don't stand up for what is right, then fascism, homophobia, racism, Islamophobia, transphobia, and all these other forms of oppression will continue to take over our country, because those voices are extremely loud right now, and nobody is silencing them. And as long as those voices continue to rise up and continue to become louder and louder, our voices will continue to become smaller and smaller. So I'm really challenging everyone to not only talk in private. Talking in private does nothing. You need to share your thoughts in public. You need to make sure you are being a good, active citizen. And hopefully we can bring change. But if we continue to be silent about the things that matter most, then it's almost a guarantee that minority groups will continue to be oppressed. The working class will be oppressed. And before you know it, things are going to fall apart.